Runner.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Patriot Brothers. I'm your host and Patriot Zachary Smouse, and to my right is my brother and Patriot Duke Boynton. We are joined again by Terry Rattle and Duke's daughter Jaden, and today we will be discussing the moves that us Patriots need to take in securing our Second Amendment right from not being put on a national registry. This hits home for me because I really do care in protecting our right to bear arms. It's for protecting what's ours, hunting for food, protecting our food crops, and we just need the Second Amendment so we don't get taken over by coyotes, prairie dogs, and other predators. Off this note, I just want to explain something. I have a disability that is called cerebral palsy, and I just want to get the chance to make my thoughts and feelings known. I just feel like the disabled community doesn't get the chance to really speak out, so I just try my best to open up to others.
Well said, Zach. Well said.
Absolutely.
I'm
Awesome.
100% on board with that. You know, and with your last point there, and of course, we're going to be talking about our Second Amendment rights. So, with your last point there, how you're kind of the voice, for some of these folks that are disabled, you're now a role model. Are you ready for that, Zach? Okay, and that part of being in the public eye means you get to be a role model, and I think that's awesome. There's no better role model out there for other disabled folks than you. So, thumbs up to that, buddy. Nice.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, just because you can't talk physically doesn't mean you shouldn't have a voice.
That's right. That's right. Well, he's got a voice. It's just a computerized voice. What's up, Scott? Good afternoon, buddy. So we're going on the Second Amendment here, and Zach, in your introduction there, you really right off the bat kind of hit something home with me. I mean, yeah, firearms are used for hunting. They're used for protecting crops and stuff like that. But in America, you don't need a reason to own a firearm. You're just allowed to own one. Now, there are exceptions to the rules. If you're a felon, I think there's a couple misdemeanors out there if you have that you can't own a firearm. But as an upstanding citizen of the United States of America, you are allowed to own a firearm, no questions asked. Okay, don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And here in Colorado, we have it's a tax stamp. So if you want to get a fully automatic, and that's where you just pull the trigger in and just unloads a bunch of bullets, you could get a tax stamp and you could own one of those. You could, in the state of Colorado, if you pay enough money, you could own a tank. So we have that right to own firearms here in America. And one of the reasons, folks, why we're bringing this up is somebody in Senate, Congress, introduced House Bill H.R. 127. Okay, and that to me is the Democrats' plea to Americans to give up your firearms. And the basic logistics of H.R. 127, there's going to be a national registry, firearm licensing. Okay, there's going to be partial ammo bans in this. Okay, you're going to have to, if I read it right, you're going to even if you have all these firearms before this kicks in, you're going to have to register every single firearm, and they're after your AR-15s, yos. And it's not an assault rifle, it's Amorite. Get that right, guys. AR-15, the AR does not stand for assault rifle. The maker of that particular brand of rifle, some people actually call it a pistol. I mean, it's always an argument, but it's Amorite. Okay, that's how they get the AR in there. So it's not an assault weapon, an assault rifle. This is stupid. People don't do their doggone research, but that's what they're going after now. And those who voted Biden in and you own guns, yeah, screw off. I'm sorry, but this is what's coming down the pipeline, and there is absolutely nothing that we could do to stop this madness.
It happened in Canada 25 years ago.
How'd that happen, Terry?
They instituted the gun registry. They tried getting all the farmers, to Zach's point right in the introduction, guys that are just trying to protect their crops, like removing pests. They were required to register all their long guns.
Long rifles, right?
Right? Stuff that traditionally, passed down father to son, grandfather to grandson. These rifles are passed down. Now they're required to register them for taking care of pests, intruders, like not even necessarily hunting for food, but for maintaining their livelihood.
Right.
It was kind of essential for people. And they instituted, it cost, back in the day, it cost Canada $1 billion.
$1 billion.
$1 billion to institute this gun registry. And that was back in the 90s. So it's going to be like,
so upwards and around 5 to 7 billion nowadays.
Now, yeah, because it's useless.
Right.
To try and make, because
right.
The first point is, like, criminals don't register their guns.
They never have, never will.
Point number one, they're not going to register their guns. Long guns, right. Short guns. And they made the claim that it was going to prevent suicide and this and that. There you go.
3D printed guns are the future with 3D bullets. Scott, that's actually right on point. I mean, are you going to have to? But since we're talking about this, well, you have to register your 3D printed gun.
Or a 3D printer.
Or a 3D printer for that.
Yeah, if I go on eBay and buy a 3D printer that can print aluminum or steel, am I going to have to register that 3D printer?
Right. And you can't register 3D guns. Scott, you and I both sit here and say that right now, but don't put past the Democrats doing whatever they can. I think Terry hit the nail on the head. It's not so much as registering the 3D gun. It's registering the 3D printer. And it's just the non-logical mindset that they have. And this HR 127 is just, it's so mind-blowing. I want to say it won't ever happen, but you don't know nowadays.
So what happened here, Duke, with that gun registry? If your gun got stolen and was used in a crime and you did not report it stolen before it was used in that crime,
right,
you get charged.
That's right.
Because you're not a responsible gun owner.
Right. It's lunacy. And with Opal coming in, I'm going to do the same thing with this here.
Yeah.
With that, Opal, thanks for jumping on, by the way, kiddo. I always appreciate that. Would that mean cops and such lose their guns as well? Or do they get to protect themselves and family and leave the rest of us hanging? Law enforcement will be probably the first ones to register their firearms.
They have to. Yeah.
They would have to. Because they're the first line defense people. So for gun registry, you either register
law
your guns
or
military
would have to.
I could see if you're law enforcement and you don't register your firearms, they'll probably shit can you immediately. Mm-hmm. They'll bump you right out. When it comes down to it, Opal, would you have to register your hands? You're not a lethal weapon. I've kicked your ass so many times. Don't even try it. But hands are lethal weapons. But for firearms, for the sake of just saying it, there should never be a registry of firearms. First and foremost, when you go and buy a firearm legally, and Terry, you brought up criminals will never do this, but when you go and buy a firearm legally, the government already knows. They already know you're buying a firearm because you're going through, the whole entire, in Colorado, it's the CBI process, the FBI process, the background check, make sure you're not a felon, that you're legally able to own. Let me tell you, they keep that in a database. Yeah, they know. Okay, this guy's buying a firearm. Trust me, they know. When I say they, it's the government. They know you own a firearm. But to be honest with you, they shouldn't. They shouldn't know. Yeah, the left doesn't understand technology, Scott. That's true. Okay, the left doesn't understand a lot, not just technology. Well, wait a minute. I take that back. With this last election, I think the left knew exactly what they had in Dominion and used it for their good purpose. But we're not going to go there right now. It's just I'm fed up with this crap. And every time you get a Democratic president in office, these type of bills get introduced. What's scary now is that Congress and Senate is now being ran primarily by the Democrats. So there's a good chance that this HR 127 actually becomes law. And
it could be just another executive order by President Biden.
Being on air, I'm going to tell you right now, about probably 3 months ago, I went boating at Turquoise Lake, which is a beautiful lake here in Colorado. But I had every single firearm with me, and our boat sprung a leak, and that boat sunk with all my firearms. So unfortunately, I have no firearms right now, none whatsoever.
Yeah. Oh, hey, man, that's a tough gig.
It's a tough gig. I'm armless now. And with the price of ammo's gone up, I can't even buy ammo. All my ammo went down in that boat as well. It was sad. It was sad. I have absolutely nothing. So I have nothing to worry about because I have nothing to register now.
You can't even buy ammo here now. Everybody bought it up.
Look, I just gave everybody an out. I just gave everybody an out.
Well, yeah, and there's none available because of the pandemic. Because when people were buying up toilet paper, they're buying up ammo too.
Yep. They sure did. Jaden, let me ask you a question. Would you be afraid to go shoot a firearm?
No.
No?
No.
Are you afraid of firearms?
No, unless it's being pointed at my head.
Right? That's a good time to be afraid. So even for the young kids with Jaden, her being 14, they understand the whole reasoning behind having that right to own a firearm. When I had all my firearms before they sunk in that boat accident, it was.
I didn't even own a gun.
Right.
I've never owned a gun, and I'm still opposed to that.
Well, you need to go get one.
I have my vase.
I got a bow and arrow. Those are next.
Yeah. Everybody right now, go get yourself a sub one crossbow. They're freaking expensive, but they're worth it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And the bolts are pretty cheap too. Before they outlaw those suckers. But this is the biggest power grab I have ever seen in a presidency ever. I think Biden has passed already like 40, 45 some odd executive orders. They're slamming through Green New Deals. They're slamming through now firearm legislation. And by the way, I wasn't the one that was turned on to this House bill, the HR 127. A very, very good friend of mine, and this guy is badass. Like my wife said, I don't want to meet him in a dark alley. Ed F., I won't give his last name, but Ed F., he knows who I'm talking about. He's the one that said, dude, you got to check this out because this is absolutely ridiculous. And when he comes to me with something like that, you sit up and you take notice. And you're like, oh, okay, we have an issue here, boys and girls, and what has to be done about it? And I don't have the answers for that. I really don't, because I'm not the one that says, okay, well, we're going to go start a civil war. That's not my resolve. But there's a lot of folks out there saying the left is pushing us people to a civil war, and there's no way around it. I'm the guy that says, hold on, time out. Can we do something else besides fight?
Yeah, there has to be a way around it.
There has to be something else done. And that's why, Terry, why I like having you on with this pod, because Canada's already been through what, they are trying to pass right now. So it's good information to know you guys implemented something like that and it failed miserably.
It wasn't even funny. Like it ballooned. Initially, it was supposed to be, it was going to cost maybe around $100 million. And then it went up to 500 million, 600 million. Eventually, it cost $1 billion.
Jeez. That's just ridiculous.
And you're trying to put that, and that's in a country of basically a tenth of the size of yours. So what's it going to cost? It's going to cost 10 times $1 billion.
Right.
To try and implement that in the States, it's going to cost at least $5 to $10 billion. On top of this $1.9 trillion freaking bug package that the liberals just think they can just print money and everything's going to be fine. Sorry.
That's all right, man. No, it is what it is. Zach, what you got, buddy?
If they come take our guns, they have to come through my dead body.
Have to come prying from my cold dead fingers.
Yeah.
There is a line to be drawn. I mean, if they ever said, "Hey, look, you got to give up your firearms," I do believe that'll be over. We're not going to be Australia, where they were just okay with it, and just bowed to the will of the government. One of the things I heard on the radio today, and it was really, really profound, and it makes a lot of sense. Okay. The opposite of bravery is not cowardice, it's conformity. And so many people have this, we're okay with conforming to whatever the government asks us to do. And no, I understand some things the government's going to ask you to do, and we're like, okay, we got to do it. I'm not, for one, against paying taxes. I'm against paying taxes when I don't know where it's going. Okay, I understand taxes is a necessity. I get it. That's cool with me. That's not being a conformist. That's just doing your duty as a civilian or anybody.
Yeah,
for that matter.
Yeah, I want a nice road to drive to work on.
Thank you. Yep.
That's what paying taxes should be.
That's right, Scott. No matter who president is, Jesus is my king, and I'm right there on board with you. He may be coming sooner than we thought. That could be a whole different story on that, man. I could go a whole pod on just that one. But one of the things that I forgot to mention in this House bill in HR 127, and this to me is the creme de la creme of how bad this bill is. If you go on this registry and you have a firearm, you are now searchable by the public, which means anybody who wants to know who owns a firearm in your neighborhood could just go into this registry list, put in a zip code, and they'll have my name, my phone number, probably my social security number.
All the registered serial numbers of your weapons.
That's right. Every weapon I own, probably right down to how much ammunition I have. First and foremost, I don't want the general public knowing where I live. If I want you to know where I live, I'll tell you.
They'll tell you. Yeah.
I'm not going to, but if the government has that now right to put out private information, that is a huge government overstep. And let me tell you something, man. I tried to explain this to Ed F the other day, is if anybody has ever watched A Christmas Story with Ralphie, and him and his brother was getting chased up and down the alley by the red-headed little stepchild, bullying the hell out of him. What did Ralphie do finally? He got fed up of it, turned around, slugged the dude, and beat him down for 500 minutes until mom came in and watched. It was like, I better pull him off.
Yeah, he's had enough.
And so here we are on the conservative side. We are being pushed around by that redhead. And eventually we're going to turn around and lay the smack down on him. And I've taught Jaden how to fight, so she's going to be right there with me.
another thing that I found, especially with the Canadian registry, and I was talking to Zach about it before we got on. Like, you buy a heavy duty truck, and I don't want to throw any names out there, but like, to one certain dealership, I'm trying to find parts for trucks for a company that's very relevant in the US. But I'll give them the serial number of the truck, and they'll ask, "Oh, is that a 2015 or 2008 truck?"
Right.
And that's the biggest problem that one of the biggest problems that the gun registry here had was duplicate serial numbers.
Sure.
Right? Because
Sure.
companies only have a certain companies only have a certain amount of serial numbers that they can use.
Right.
So they have to be able to identify the company, what year.
Right.
Right. So there was a big, that was one of the big things in the gun registry in Canada, was all these duplicate serial numbers. Well, who are you going to trace? Who are you going to trace them to?
Right. Right.
Especially with guns that are handed down.
Right.
Like Duke, say your grandpa wills you a gun.
Sure.
Right? It might have the same serial number as a gun that you already own.
Right. That's right.
That just causes
it causes a huge issue.
Big cluster. You know what?
Yeah.
4-letter word. And as soon as that gets into the bureaucrats, then it's just
right. Goes out the window.
Yeah, it's
Jaden, let me ask you a question, Jaden. Since you're in school, does the school teach you that firearms are good or bad, or are they just they don't say anything about it?
My old history teacher used to talk about guns a lot and how teachers should be able to have guns to protect students. But then I have another teacher who's saying, my old English teacher was saying, you should not be able to own a gun because it's unsafe. But at the same time, if a school shooter comes, what are they supposed to do? Whack them up the side of the head with a chair?
Right. Well, and Jade, that's perfect, because there's that 50-50 world. You have one teacher saying, I should be able to protect my children and myself with a firearm, which I'm 100% on board with. I want these teachers trained, and I want them carrying firearms. School shootings end immediately with that. But then you have the opposite side of the spectrum of teachers saying, you shouldn't own a firearm at all. And so that good insight, Jaden. I didn't know about that. So thanks.
Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to train teachers to be like black belts in jiu-jitsu?
Right.
So they can actually, or are you just going to give them a gun? What's easier?
Right. Well, train
them to like just use a gun competently, or be a black belt in jiu-jitsu. What's easier?
Right.
What's easier?
Yeah, because if you're going to become a black belt in anything, it takes years and years and years and years to achieve, right? For proper firearm training, you're looking at maybe 6 to 8 classes max.
Yeah, depending on the the student, right?
Right. Depending on the student.
Watch Indiana Jones, when the guy came out with the sword and he was all proficient with the sword, and Indiana just pulled out his
gun and shot him.
Pop. Yeah.
Which is kind of funny, Terry, because during that scene, Harrison Ford was actually legitimately really ill. It was supposed to be a sword fighting scene, but since he was so sick, to improv, this was improv. It had nothing to do with what was actually written. He just pulled out his gun and shot him, and it stuck. And everybody's used that reference. It's so right. Are you going to bring a knife to a gunfight? Probably a bad idea.
That's like the school shooting thing. Are you gonna risk all your children by trying to fight them off with their fists, or just shoot them, get it done and over with, and have all your children be safe, be able to go home that day to go see their families, instead of being in the hospital or being in a casket?
Right. I agree. And Scott's jumping in here. He says, I'm I've become more of taxation as theft in the last year. Roads could be done by private companies, in my opinion. I'm okay with the roads being done with private companies. As a matter of fact, a lot of private companies probably, I know here in El Paso County, Colorado, the private companies are actually the ones that are making the roads right now. They contract out through the county. I'm okay with that. But I don't have a problem paying taxes. You know, again, this I could go off on a tangent. This will probably be another, a podcast for a different day.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I don't think there should be payroll taxes. There shouldn't be property taxes. There shouldn't be vehicle registration taxes. All those need to be abolished. And the only thing that we should have is a flat tax where everybody, including illegal aliens, will have to pay a tax. And what's a flat tax? It means if you go to your local Walmart and you buy something, I don't care if it's carrots or a Matchbox car, you pay taxes on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing, that's all you have to do. When you go buy stuff, you could be a food stamp recipient and you will still have to pay taxes on the products that you buy. But again, I could go off on a whole tangent about the flat tax and taxes and stuff, but we're on firearms right now. Firearms to me mean a little bit more than taxes at this point in time. Guaranteed somehow the IRS will figure out a way to make the Second Amendment, null and void. There's going to be some sort of, they'll tax the hell out of firearms. Okay, so if you want to buy a Kimber and it costs you $1,200, they're going to put a 50% tax on that, and you're going to now spend, $2,000 on that gun.
Yeah, 1,800. Yeah,
right, 18. Yeah, people be like, "Yeah, we ain't going to do that." So they'll tax the hell out of firearms and just, okay, nobody buys them anymore. I could see that happening.
So I have a question.
Go for it.
So recently, Biden released a law for anyone being able to enter their bathroom. So without a firearm, how are you supposed to protect your child from a 50-year-old man going into a bathroom with a 13-year-old child? How are you supposed to protect your child from that?
Punch him in the nuts.
If just like how we live in the middle of nowhere, but if someone breaks in, what are we supposed to do without a gun?
Right.
And the aren't going to be here in time. By the time they're here,
well, unfortunately for me, all of my guns went down in a boat, Jaden. So I don't have any. I have no more firearms. So I have to rely on my William Wallace sword from Braveheart. Okay.
Yeah, and you're a big dude.
Yeah,
you're a big dude. You'll be
take him on. Take him on. I mean, for the most part, and to be honest with you, we really don't have issues out here where we live. I think a lot of it's because criminals. No, unfortunately, my wife's shed keeps getting broken into out here, but nobody's there when it's burglarized. So that guy is definitely a coward for trying to do that. But when it comes to actual homes out here where we live, I think the criminals know it's not a good idea to break into this person's house because chances are we're leaving on a stretcher.
Yeah.
We don't ask questions. If you're in my house, and by the state of Colorado, we have a make our day law. So if you break into my house at 2:00 in the morning, all I have to do is think, am I under life? Is my life under duress? Can I lose life of limb or can I lose property? I don't even have to ask questions. Okay. You break into my house at 2:00 in the morning, the coroner's coming to bring you home. Okay? It's just that easy. And every time you have a shooting inside a house like that and a homeowner shoots that suspect, there's going to be a grand jury. And 100% of the time, the grand jury says, make my day, case dismissed. And it's literally that quick. So these folks out here know better to break into people's houses out here. It's a bad idea.
Yep.
And there's numerous states out there that have same laws like that. Some of them call it a castle law. Some of them called it a threshold law, I believe. Ours is just our make my day law, of course, after Clint Eastwood. Back when Colorado was badass, they named laws after quotes from really cool actors, So yeah, there it is with the firearm stuff. And if anybody out there has any questions about this, I just urge you to go and look up on Google. Yeah. I like to use Google because Google is like the criminal lacroix of Democratic lookup stuff. And so if I give you something, I Googled it myself. And if it's there, whoops, Google messed up. And so go check it out. House Bill HR 127 about the firearms out here. And again, I'll do a real quick rundown of it. It's going to be firearm licensing and registration, partial animal bans. Okay. And then there's going to be everything that's been registered is now going to be searchable by the public.
Money, 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 money,
Money.
That's all it's going to cost, man, because
Yep.
it's useless.
Yep. It's useless.
Like I said, at the time Canada had 34 million people, it cost us $1 billion.
Right. Ridiculous.
Right? So multiply that by what the population of the United States is.
Right. Inflation.
And how many people? And Matt, I'm going to tell you, there's way more kind of backwoods type of people probably in the States. There's a few in Canada. So
right.
if you understand, they can kill.
Wow. So Minnesota, Scott, I'm telling you, man, I nothing against you, but I'll never move there. You know, if you're not allowed to protect yourself against somebody that's breaking into your house, do you want to call a cop that's 9 minutes away?
No, I'm gonna grab the 5-iron out of my golf bag and break his kneecaps.
Right. The one thing, and where I really, really like Colorado, even though we have a liberal government right now, so they'll probably try to change our laws, which is super hard in the state of Colorado. I like our make our day law. It makes people think twice before breaking in. Now, I know there was a case in California where a guy had broken into a house in California, and absolutely ridiculous. He had broken in through the skylight in the kitchen, fell down onto the kitchen counter and stabbed himself in the thigh. Okay, the
And then he
homeowners
sued
came
the
home.
homeowner.
He sued the homeowners. The homeowners came home and found him laying on the ground, about dead, called 911, more for his sake than for being broken into. He turned around, sued the homeowners, and won like a 6-figure lawsuit. How? How the F does that work?
Bro, that's ridiculous. I'm so glad we don't live in Cali.
Oh, me too. That's a beautiful state. I've been there a couple times. Absolutely gorgeous state. There's no doubt about it. But hot damn, their laws are ridiculous.
Colorado.
So, anyways, guys, I'm going to leave up the last segment to you. If you have anything to throw in, go ahead and throw her in.
Me, myself, I'm just wondering if Joe Biden is going to use another executive order to pass the gun registry.
I don't think he could do that by executive action. I think he could do bans on like, I might be wrong. I think he could do bans on certain ammo. I think he could do bans on certain rifles. And I think he could do bans on capacities of magazines and clips. I'm not 100% certain. I'll have to get my friend Ed in on this one. He knows a lot more about federal laws and what the president can and can't do, you know, by executive action. Most of the stuff has to go through Congress and then on to Senate and then on to the president's desk for a sign. So for a national registry, I'm not saying Biden won't try it, but that, again, we're the Ralphies and we're getting pushed. Does he want to do that right now?
That article I sent you in the last sentence in the 5th paragraph.
Right. Do you have that on hand, Terry? I would go look it up, but then I cut everybody off.
Okay, like, well, he basically said that no one requires me to do anything.
That's right. Yeah, because the reporter was asking.
No one, yeah, he asked him a tough question, a bit of a tough question about like all these executive orders that he signed.
Right.
People are making a big deal out of Trump. I think Trump signed 220 executive orders
Over
in
4
his
years.
4 years.
Right.
So Biden has now gone over 30 in 10 days.
He's at 40 or over now, Terry.
Projected over a year, not even 4 years.
You're looking at thousands.
Nobody requires me to do anything.
Right.
That's not a,
Megan,
pardon
Megan,
my
you're
French, it's not a fucking democracy
right.
when you bypass the legislative assembly,
Right.
being the Senate and the Congress, and sign all these executive orders. What does that become?
You're now a dictator. You're now king.
Boom. Boom.
And you can't be a king. And Megan, you're right. I'm right there with you. He's a puppet in all this. And what I would love to do, and I'm going to have, and we try to keep our pods around 30 to 45 minutes, so we won't go on too much longer here. One of our future pods is I'm going to do a lot of research, and I want you guys that listen to do a lot of research, and we want to come together with an educated, great guess of who is the puppet master. You know, who's the guy holding the strings, who's the guy behind the curtain, you know, who's the Wizard of Washington DC, you know. And I have a pretty good idea of who it is, but I'm not going to go there right there. And Scott's coming in, one executive order was blank, just like Biden's mind. And that was probably his favorite executive order he signed. There was nothing there.
Yeah, I'll sign it. Fuck it.
Also, I did to Bitchute. It's like, dude, just get him a stamp because I don't even think he could sign his name right. Anyways, guys, I want to wrap up the Second Amendment one. If anybody else has anything to put in, do it now. Like, share, and subscribe. Ed F, if you're watching, we're going to do a second segment on the Second Amendment, and we're going to bring you in, Ed. You already said it's a good probability that you'll come on, so I can't wait to get you on. And you know, we'll go from there with some more intricate laws and details of what's going on behind the scenes. You know, he knows his stuff. Yeah, Megan, it's going to be loaded, and I really hope you guys jump in on that one. And I want guesses and speculations. I'm good with that. It's not like we're saying, you know, this guy's the Antichrist, although he could be. And I don't want to go there yet because I already have a good idea who I want to say. But I want, you know, all of y'all to come in and start partaking in, you know, who's behind the scenes here.
Any opinion is a good opinion.
Thank you.
That's the rule of democracy.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like we're all entitled to our own voice.
Right. That's right. I think personally the person behind pulling the strings is Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah, must be. The word of the day.
The bird. The bird. Anyways, guys, let's get out of here. Folks, everybody, thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. Thank you for coming on and jumping on with the Patriot Brothers again. Zach, you've done an amazing job again putting this thing together. Terry, thank you for coming on and giving us a voice from Canada. Jaden, thank you for coming in and giving your input. Y'all's rock, and everybody who's watching out there, we love you. Welcome to the Patriot family. Don't have to be a brother. You don't have to be a sister. Hell, you don't even have to be from America. Just jump
have
on
an opinion.
Just have an opinion. Let's roll this, you know. We love it. Scott, thank you for everything. Megan, thank you for coming in and speaking up. Y'all's are amazing. And if you ever want to jump on, let Zach know. I'm sure we could get you on too. But if you guys don't have anything else to say, and we can't wait to. We can't wait to, Megan. Can't wait till next time. You're awesome, Megan. You're awesome. All right, guys. Well, we'll call it a wrap. We did good. Hey. Thank you for jumping on. Love you, brothers.
Love you.
And we'll take that. Go ahead and throw that one up real quick, Zach, because we were just discussing.
Let's go. Yeah.
We'll take it. We got a couple more minutes here. So Minnesota has a law that if you injure someone, okay, we already went over that. Anyways, all right. Thank you guys, and we'll see you the next time. And by the way, before we log off, I'm going to tell you that it's not an exact time when we're going to be doing this pod. Unfortunately, Terry and me and Zach and even Jaden, we all have pretty busy lives. So it's like, hey, look, if we got time, let's go ahead and do it now. It might be a last second notice, or we may be able to tell you guys a week in advance. But, you know, if you see that little bell or anything on Facebook or YouTube or anything like that, just go ahead and jump on, watch. share it if you can. Say, hey, we love these guys or we hate these guys. It doesn't matter. Aquila,
Oh, kill.
we'll
Okay.
get you next time, buddy. We'll get you next time. We love having you here, but even just jumping on here at the end, it's all good, buddy.
Awesome.
Just go rewatch it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it came in the last few months. Yeah. Well, with that said, guys, let's go ahead and call it a wrap. Thank you again. I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. Love you guys.
Here we go. Love you too. We'll see you later. No, what up, Zach?